how you did. But if I give you the function here, f of x equals 2x minus 3, and then I tell you f of 3, where am I going to put this 3? Into the x. So I have 2 times 3 minus 3. 2 times 3 is 6. Minus 3 is 3. A lot of 3's. And then the next one, my input now becomes 1/2. So it's the same process. You're going to do 2 times 1/2 minus 3. What's 2 times 1/2? 1. 1 minus 3 is -2. Okay? So function notation is just a way to show what you're going to input. Oh, there's Delaney. I just sent stuff down to you. I just got an email about you. That you were kind of. Very basic equation. And we're going to graph y equals mx plus b, which you guys have seen in Algebra 1, but I'm going to teach it to you like it's your first time seeing it. So this is 2.3 linear functions. And think back to algebra when you learn to solve for x, and you can see how important that has been. You've used it almost every day in algebra. That's how graphing linear functions is in Algebra 2. So you're going to graph linear functions a bunch. So if graphing y equals mx plus b wasn't one of your favorite things, I'm not saying it needs to be a favorite thing, but it needs to be something you understand. It's not something that's going away. So we're going to start with just finding slope, just a refresher on how you find slope. When you hear the word slope, what comes to mind?
Y equals mx.
Okay, y equals mx plus b. Skis, okay. Anything else?
Find the slope.
So what about, are there any R words? Rise over run. So slope is always rise over run. Okay. What letter in y equals mx plus b is slope? M. Very good. And to actually find slope from 2 points, you use the equation
X1.
y minus y over x minus x. Y goes on top because the rise is on top and the y value or the y-axis goes up and down. So y minus y over x minus x. When you probably first learned it, you probably learned like y1 minus or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We're not going to be that specific. What I'm going to tell you is when I give you a point, I'll give you let's just start with it. First example, -3, 7 and -2, 4. So this would be xy, xy. What I'm going to tell you is whatever y you choose to go first on the top, its x value has to go first on the bottom. So we're not going to worry about labeling these x1 and x2, y2 and y1. We're just going to say, okay, which one do we want to go first on the top, the 7 or the 4? 7, okay, so we're going to go 7 minus 4. And now you don't have a choice what has to go first on the bottom. -3 minus a -2. What happens with that? Negative turns out to be positive. Just say positive. And you have 7 minus 4 is 3, and -3 plus 2 is -1. So this slope is 3 over -1.
So then you would go.
So there's a couple ways you could go. I would change this to -3 over 1. I would go down 3 into the right 1. I always run to the right when I do. But we'll get to that here in a minute.
How can you not run to the right?
If you do the opposite, so here I'd go up 3 into the left 1.
I don't like that.
I don't either. I like to run to the right. But sometimes the graph is off, so you might have to do it backwards. Like when I printed off some of these worksheets, I saw that there's some like that.
No, that's a whole.
Okay, are we good with slope? That was kind of your refresher. Everybody good? You're going to have some practice time with it. Let's talk about these slopes. If I graph a line like this,
Yes.
if I graph a line like this, I graph a line like this,
0.
and I graph a line like this, all I know about these slopes is this slope would be positive because it's going up when I read it left to right. So this slope would be negative. So this is going to be a really good checker when you go to graph it. If you know the slope is negative, but yet your line is going up, you obviously graphed it wrong. So if your slope is positive, it's going up. Slope is negative, it's going down. Oh, this is very profound. If the slope is not changing, it's 0. And does anybody remember what this is? Undefined. And that's because you can rise 1 but run 0, and you can't have 0 on the bottom of a fraction. Okay, let's talk about good old y equals mx plus b. Okay, let's pick this apart. We already said that m is the slope. I also want you to say rise over run, and we're just going to, as a class, going to run to the right. So rise is where you either rise up or down. If it's negative, you'll go down. Positive, you'll go up. But we're always going to run to the right. B is our starting point, or the beginning point on the y-axis. So this B value is always where you start. And from that starting point is where we'll do our slope.
And then y is not.
Y and x are just y and x. But this is the y-intercept, beginning point in the y-axis.
Oh,
So,
got it.
first thing we're going to do is I'm going to just tell you the slope and tell you the y-intercept, and you're going to write an equation. Pretty difficult today. Basically, you're not doing any math. You're putting the right numbers in the right parts. So if I said, okay, you don't have to write this down if you don't want to. I said, okay, we're going to write an equation. The slope is going to be 2/3. So I'm going to put 2/3 in for m. And then I'm going to tell you that the y-intercept is -3. So what am I going to write next?
Dude, I can't do that.
There's your equation. Now, starting, I think Thursday, because today's Tuesday, Thursday, we're going to write it from 2 points. So that's a little more involved. That's a little more algebra work. Today, you're just placing what you know where.
Seems pretty
Okay? Easy enough? This is leading into our main lesson today, which is actually graphing linear functions. So is everybody good with slope? Y equals mx plus b, what everything means? Okay, so let's get to the real thing. Here we go. If I give you, I'm going to start with an easy one. Let's say I have y equals 1/2 x plus 4. So to graph these, you first have to make sure it's y equals mx plus b. So some of these you'll have to solve for y. I'm going to start with ones you don't have to solve. Or, it's already solved for you.
Are we gonna have to make a graph?
That's what we're doing today.
That's rough.
I know. It's tough, I tell you what. Okay, here we go.
So you start at 4.
So we're always going to look to see what is our b value right here, and then what is our slope. So our b value is 4, so we're going to start up here at 4. And then our slope is 1/2, both positive. So that means we're going to rise 1 and run to the right 2 from this point on the y-axis. So I'm going to go up 1 and over 2, and then I just connect my dots with a straight-ish line.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Do you guys remember first seeing this in Algebra 1 and everybody freaking out?
I don't think I figured
It's
it
like
out.
it's the Algebra 1 thing that everyone seems to go crazy with. So why don't you guys try this, and I'm going to give you a negative slope this time. So let's do y equals -2/3 x plus 1. You guys try this one on your own, and then I'll put it up here.
We're just like,
You don't have to get fancy with your just put in a couple tick marks.
done.
Okay, where are we starting this one?
On
At
one.
1. On the y-axis, always start on the y-axis. And then our slope here is negative 2/3, which means we know our graph needs to be going down. So if you look at your graph right now and it's going up, you've graphed it wrong. But I'm going to go -2, which means what kind of rise am I doing? Down, a fake rise. So 1, 2, and then 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3. And there's your graph. Good? Okay, let's math it up a little bit, and then I'm going to let you guys work today. I know, just a little bit. Just a little bit. This time, we're going to have to solve for y. So 5x minus 4y equals 16. So our first step here is to put it in the form y equals mx plus b. So we have to get this y right here by itself. How am I going to move this positive 5? Subtract 5 over. Can I combine together 16 and minus 5x?
No.
No, so you're just going to write it next to each other. I'm going to start it in the form y equals mx plus b. So I like to write my x part first.
I put it, but I could search the web for it.
For what?
For y equals mx plus
I accidentally pressed my Siri button and it keeps saying I'm gonna
Oh, I would love to have Siri just teach the class. I should just do that. And then just sit back and relax. Okay, so always write it so your x is coming first, because then it'll be in the form y equals mx plus b. How am I moving this -4? Dividing
So it's all
everything by -4.
Ooh.
Now, does 5 divide by 4? No. Is it okay to have a fraction, especially in the slope part?
It is very
Yeah,
okay.
you kind of want that because it's rise over run.
It's gonna cancel out.
So I've got y equals, this becomes positive, 5 over 4, x, and then what does this become? -4.
Bro, it just canceled out.
So you guys graph this on your paper. Let's see if we agree. And then I'm going to give you one to do on your own. And then I just have a handful of problems for today.
How much is a handful?
I don't know.
2. Good answer.
10.
Oh, that's not bad.
We're going to go over it today in class.
I can't fit 10 of anything in my hands.
Okay, does yours look like mine? Start at -4, go up 5, to the right 4. Yours probably looks better than mine because I didn't draw that real straight.
That's all right. Wait, you go up.
Just go up 5,
Okay, yeah.
over 4. Okay, here's the one you're going to do on your own. Are you ready?
Yeah. Totally.
Okay, last one of the day.
But these kind of take up some space. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I just printed off a worksheet for you guys. It's like 3 pages. Well, I didn't. Colton's doing that right now. -2x plus y equals 1. Get y by itself, and then graph. Okay, I'm going to move 2x by adding it to the other side. So I have y equals 2x plus 1. Where do I start this graph? 1 on the y. And then this just says 2, so 2 over what? 2 over 1. Drew, put your phone away. 2 over 1, so I'm going to rise 2 and run 1. And my graph looks like that. Good? Easy enough for today?
Sounds good.
Okay, I actually think I have more than 10. I might have 11 problems for you.
That is-
I know. Okay, but I'm gonna look at them real quick. Okay, you're gonna do page 78, 8 through 10. Oh dear. 8 through 10, 17 to 19. 22 to 24. And then 28. 28 to 30 and, no, I'm sorry, 28, 29, and 42. Okay, that might be 12 problems. Sorry about it.
What number?